question, and Rose is going to have the opportunity to respond first as the incumbent, all right, is to describe your own background, including your education, as well as your professional, civic, and volunteer activities as applicable, as you see them.
Can I just ask, is the sound all set up for this? Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
No.
Keep talking.
Needs to be up a little bit. Yeah, if you could fix it once, I want to thank Cindy for, actually she's given me a little bit of a leniency here. I have written a sort of a chronological lyric type poem for my introduction because I haven't written a poem for a long time, so I wanted to get out some really nice points because I'm kind of a strange person and I wanted you to know who I am, because if you know who I am, maybe we can have a meal together sometime and make the war go away. So if I do go over, take my minutes away from another portion, because I think this is important. Okay. I grew up in Wellesley, Massachusetts. My father worked at General Motors for 55 years. My mother was the daughter of the Mi'kmaq Nation in Nova Scotia. My grandmother, her grandmother died in a teepee of wounds during the Great Halifax explosion in 1917. My father's father took his own life shortly after leaving the vineyards of Piacenza for America. My mother's father trained horses. My mother told me I refused her milk. I wrote lyrics and played guitar fanatically. Words were important to me. I made my confirmation as a Catholic at 12 years old, but I refused to kiss the bishop's ring. I denounced Catholicism when I was 14. I dropped out of high school for political reasons. I ran away from home at age 16. In 1972, I married Joe Dunn, a Black Mountain College, San Francisco beat poet 20 years my senior who published the White Rabbit Press. We had our first child when I was 18. I was a singer, songwriter, poet in the Boston area for 10 years, from age 15 to 25. We had monthly poetry readings in our apartment on the lower side of Beacon Hill in Boston, way before gentrification. Jack Kimball wrote an article in the publication Jacket 2 called John and the Four Duns. That was me and my kids and my husband. Bostonian and then West Coast publisher Joe Dunn had by this time moved back from San Francisco along with his wife Rose Dunn, I was Rose Dunn back then, and their young daughters. They reinstituted their Monday poetry series in their flat off Hancock Street. As the center of all verse, John Wiener stopped by on Mondays occasionally as a silent or solo vocal presence, while Joe Dunn held court, reading and enthusing over the privileged texts, works of Charles Olson, Jack Spicer, Robin Blazer, Joanne Kiger, Steve Jonas, Robert Creeley, Bonnie Louise, Hawkins, Robert Duncan, and of course John Wieners. In a troubadourish array of pressed flowers, dirty diapers, and worn Tarot decks, Joe and Rose ran their wine-drenched evenings as research confabs where regulars were urged to bring work by contemporary poets we were reading at the moment and inspired one or two pieces of their own. We moved to Newburyport, Massachusetts in 1975 when it was still a tiny fishing community. We kept bees, sheep, goats, and a big garden. I was an actor in the Newburyport Theater. My favorite roles were the musical Jacques Brel. I sang Marique Marique and played Bananas in the House of Blue Leaves in 1980. I was one of the founders of the Newburyport Children's Theater. I directed The Little Match Girl in 1981. At this time, I was secretary for the Seabrook, New Hampshire Anti-Nuclear Movement headquarters. I took my daughter, who was just 3 days old, to the anti-nuclear movement protest, and she was this small. She was just very small. People thought I had a doll. Okay, so I took my high school GED test in 1982, and I attended the Haverhill, Massachusetts Community College for 1 year. A very special teacher there told me I would succeed in an Ivy League school. Joe Dunn and I divorced. I was accepted at Smith College in 1984 and was awarded an Ada Comstock scholarship. I took all 3 children with me to Northampton, and my 4th child was born on Wednesday, the middle of spring break in my senior year. She was a good kid. She came to class all through the rest of the semester. My new husband, Harvey Brown, came too, also a poet and author of in the branches of the upper world, editor of the Niagara Frontier Press along with Charles Olson, and founder of the Frontier Press, reprinting Woodward's Years of Madness, a reappraisal of the Civil War, the decline and fall of the spectacular commodity economy, Longs If He Can Make Her So, and more. I graduated from Smith College, cum laude, with a degree in biology, minor in anthropology. While in Northampton, I studied Yang-style Tai Chi, long form, 108 movements, and two-person defense techniques, fanatically. I did an independent study in Chinese traditional medicine at Smith. My graduating thesis was a study of the ethnobotany of the village of Owatsio in Mexico, Michoacan, Mexico, and I spent 6 months there with all my children. I was accepted and received a seriously awesome scholarship at Cornell University in 1988. Continued practicing Tai Chi, learned the compelling sword form. I immersed myself in Tibetan Buddhism. I lived at the monastery in Newfield, New York, and studied with several Tibetan masters. My husband, Harvey Brown, died in 1990. I sang for the Dalai Lama, a solo, in 1991. I thought I could die after that. I graduated from Cornell University with a master's in science in botany in 1991. I was accepted into the University of Texas at Austin, PhD program for botany, to be postponed. I was a single parent at that point and had to make a choice: further studies or raise my 4 children. I chose the children. I was a single mom for 4 years. During that time, I had a preschool in my home. I figured out real fast that God did not intend for anyone to be with toddlers for that long. I met Tim in 1994, going through a difficult period. I thought getting back to music might help. I studied violin with Laurie Hart and took guitar lessons with Tim. Still a practicing Buddhist, Tim and I had long discussions about Jesus Christ and Tibetan Buddhism. Long discussions. Thursday, November 24th, 1995, I experienced a transformation in my heart. I asked God to indwell my spirit, and He most graciously gave me His gift of the Holy Spirit. Now real submission begins. The only authority I ever respected is God. I performed with the Daughters of Sweden in Ithaca, fiddle group for a few years, and then we moved to Ledyard. We bought a farm there that needed a lot of work. I've been designing barns fanatically for 10 years. Some of them we've actually built. My daughter Imanja, my littlest daughter Imanja, received a full scholarship to Phillips Academy High School in Andover, Massachusetts. She left me with an empty nest when she was 13, and I'm still not over it yet. We started raising Dexter cattle, only planned on having 1. We now have 24. I became the town clerk in 2001. I received a sustainable agriculture grant in 2006 to design a new raw milk cheese. I worked with David Brown at Cornell in the food science department. He was the encyclopedia for cheese. I'm thankful to have been able to apprentice with him. We designed an original, authentic, artisanal, farmstead-aged, natural-rind Kefir cheese. We used the original Kefir granules from the Caucasus Mountains, a very probiotic, healthy, sustainable living group of symbiotic microorganisms that culture milk. We milk 10 cows twice a day. And we are certified animal welfare approved. We have a new sustainable dairy design based on the dignity of the cow, pastured, grass-fed. We keep calves with their mothers for the biological time frame they are meant to be mothered, no orphans, no widows. I am a board member for the New York Cheesemakers Guild, board member for the Purebred Dexter Cattle Association. I'm a columnist for the Journal, a publication about Dexter cattle. I taught English as a second language at Christ Chapel in Ithaca for a few years. I raised farm collies and English shepherd dogs. Supporter of the legalized raw milk movement and food democracy now. And spend all my daylight hours when I'm not at the town hall tending cows, making cheese, and helping others learn how to handle the perfect homestead cow, the Dexter. I love my husband and continuously ask him to forgive me for all of my fanaticisms. I am not easy. I am a grandmother of 2 boys, and I am here tonight to answer all the questions about the office of the town clerk.
My name is Ed Easter. I was originally born in Birmingham, Alabama. I went to the University of Montevallo, which is a liberal arts university in Montevallo, Alabama, which is just south of Montgomery. I grew up in a city where there are over 1 million people. My father grew up in a town where there were about 150. A small little place called Dora, Alabama. My grandfather died in a coal mine when my dad was 16. My dad served on the USS Forrestal. He did it because he had to take care of his younger brother and his mother. My dad taught me duty. My dad taught me responsibility. My dad loved to fly. Flew third seat in A3 Sky Warriors, which is a plane that is long since retired, but he had a family, and he had to give up something that he loved because he thought his family was more important. He made a choice. A job he loved and cared about, or people he loved and cared about. My dad chose the right thing. While I was at Montevallo, I met a beautiful woman named Susie Little. She was 19, I was 18. Should have married her then. I didn't. I waited way too long. But the Lord has a way of making things work out right, and I had a dream about her, and I sent her an email and said, hey, what are you doing? I haven't talked to you in about 5 years, because we've kept in touch over the past 20 years a little bit. And she said, funny you should ask, my mother and I are coming through Alabama. I said, well, let's have dinner. So, a year later, I'm planning to move to Ledyard because I'm getting married. Funny story, she was actually in my first wedding. There were no bridesmaids at my second wedding. She brought me back to a small town, which is something that my father and my mother had always kind of wanted me to have. I like the idea that we are in a place where kids can run up and down the street. You don't do that where I'm from. Not without parents watching. And that's wrong. Kids don't play. I have an 8-year-old named Kel. And this morning he reminded me how kids like to run because we were a little late heading to the bus. He was gone. And that's beautiful. Kids should run and play, no matter who they are. They should have friends with anybody that they want to be friends with, because everybody, when you get down to it, everybody is a human being, and everybody deserves to be treated like a human being. Now, my father started taking care of his family when he was 16. So, of course, when I turned 16, I went out and got a job, because I had to. I started working, serving yogurt at TCBY Yogurt in the mall. I thought I was something special. I had a uniform. I've worked in customer service ever since. I have worked for everything from a yogurt shop, a movie store. I have worked for Infinity Leader Auto Insurance Company as a subrogation specialist, preparing litigation and arbitration for our clients so that they could get their deductibles back. I know what it's like to work with lawyers and doctors, and I know what it's like to work with people and work for people in some of their most stressful moments. Because right after you've had a car wreck and paid out your $500 deductible, you really don't want to be hassled by the person that you've paid to do their job. After working for the auto insurance company, I started work. I moved to Atlanta because I wanted to be an actor. That's what my BFA was in, acting and directing. So I moved to Atlanta and I started working for a company called MAC Cosmetics. Now, the cool thing about MAC Cosmetics and what I really like about them is that they are very socially aware. They want you to be a good employee and a good person. It's important to them that you don't only sell the product, but that you talk to the person and that you find out what they need. You don't sell somebody something that they don't need. That's customer service. I like that idea because I like to talk to people. I don't have to sell them anything. I don't work on commission. My rent's not dependent on you getting a lipstick. This is good. So I do it for 10 years. For 10 years, I manage and I train other people to help people. That is my background, helping people and doing what people need. Now, every Sunday morning or Sunday afternoon after having dinner with my grandmother, I would have to watch Firing Line. I don't know how many of you are old enough to remember who William F. Buckley is, but I had to watch him every week. He used big words. I'm 40 years old and I still think he used like really big words. But I learned about the law and I learned about politics. And some of my best moments, I got a letter from Ronald Reagan because I was in fourth grade and wrote him a letter telling him I approved of his stance on air traffic control. When we're young, right? But it comes down to everything that I learned and all the people that I read. It comes down to duty and doing what's right. You know, it's important to help. I'm so glad to see all of you people here. Take an interest and vote. Like Lisa said, that is what makes this country great. Rose and I may disagree on some things, but both of us would probably fight for the other person to have their belief. And I think that's important. And it's not just vote, as Lisa said. It's make an informed vote. Come out and listen. Listen to us discuss. I thank you very much for your time, and I look forward to your questions when you get around to asking.
Thank you. So the second question, Ed, goes to you.